G'day everybody, Simon here, Explosive Action, back for a death metal vinyl update. Got a bunch of good bangers to show you, so let's get into it. Before I get into the records, I want to show you a zine that I was sent. This is very, very cool. A brand new cut and paste, a self-described cut and paste zine with an awesome cover and awesome logo. This is Conscious Rot Zine from a one-man production out of Queensland here in Australia. This is the very, very first issue, coming in at only 12 pages, but as you will see when I unveil, the font size is got to be minuscule, so get your reading glasses out for this one. Like really tiny font, so 12 pages is really more like 24 if you were something like Noxious Ruin that has a huge font. So quite a lot of content in this one. You get in this first issue interviews with Unholy Redeemer, which is one I just went past. There's Unholy Redeemer there. Fessus, a band I'm not familiar with, so I have to get into that one. Where is it? There's Fessus there. Not familiar with them, so I'm going to read up about them. There's the guys down there looking very Fessus. And then you get a bunch of demo reviews, album reviews, and all the cool stuff that you expect from a zine. Deteriorot overview as well. So yeah, this is a cool little zine. Love the layout. As I said, it's a cut and paste style, which is yeah, it's filling a bit of a void here. There's no other zine that really does this that I'm aware of in this country anyway. So check it out. You can pick up a copy from, he's got a Bandcamp for Conscious Rot. I'll put the link down below. There's an Instagram you can follow. Internationally, you can pick it up from Extremely Rotten Productions and Noxious Ruin. So go check out their distros, or locally, Terrible Mutilation and Sphere of Apparition Records are also going to be carrying copies if they don't already. So gets my support. Check out Conscious Rot Zine, issue number 1. Next up, for a band that's been around since 2012, this is only their second full-length album. And if for some reason you don't know this band, this is Spectral Voice. These guys are the Death Doom sort of sister project of Blood Incantation members Paul, Morris, and Jeff. So it's three quarters, I think, of Blood Incantation, with drum and vocal duties being handled by Eli from Black Curse, who's another band that's only done one album and needs to do more because excellent band there. But yeah, this band started sort of around about the same time as Blood Incantation, originally as a two-piece. Recorded their Necrotic Doom EP for Dark Descent back in 2015. It's an excellent EP. Everybody was very, very impressed with that one. Did a couple of splits, one with Blood Incantation, which seems obvious, another one with Frenolith, awesome band out of Denmark. And they released their debut full-length Eroded Corridors of Unbeing in 2017 with a full lineup, which you can also see on this album. That album was spectacular. I still play that one quite a lot. And now we have their brand new crushing Death Doom album, Sparagmos, I think is how you say this one. This came out this year. And yeah, this band has, again, if you don't know them, their brand of crushing Death Doom has that sort of random disembowelment parts of blasting in it as well, from the Funeral Doom style. And it just continues on from, you know, the good work they did on the first album onto this sophomore release as well. It is as heavy as a boat anchor. Absolutely devastating sound on this. Extremely bassy, which is very, very good to my ears. All of the Death Doom and Funeral Doom that you would have come to expect. Lots of drawn out dissonant guitars, slow drum patterns that get sort of excited by bursts of double kick. There's the back of it. I really dig the artwork on this one. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Deep booming gutturals, that really ultra deep, low doom sounding gutturals. Yeah, it's sort of accentuated at times by these raspy screams that are almost black metal in nature. They haven't reinvented themselves particularly on this album. They've just really honed the craft. Like, after all the years between the first full length and this one, they've just really improved. Really, that's about all I can really say. They've just got more skillful, but it's the same basic Spectral Voice. They really have recorded an excellent sophomore release here. There's only 4 tracks on here. They are supremely lengthy tracks, as you'd expect. From 8 minutes at the shortest to over 13 minutes at the longest. So yeah, this is not your hyper blasting death metal by any stretch of the imagination. It is slow, it is heavy, and it is crushing. As I said, the artwork, there was a lot of conversation about it. You know, what is it? You know, do I like it? Do I not? I think it's really cool. I think it kind of suits it. From memory, reading online from Matt at Dark Descent, he said it was actually like a physical, like a statue, some kind of creation that was actually made and then photographed for the album cover. I think it works well. I mean, it certainly looks very dark and menacing. It's just a pile of skulls on a bunch of branches, really, when you look at it. But yeah, I think it suits it quite well. Pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm not too sure who the actual artist was, but yeah, it looks great to me. As for the actual release here, I have not seen a record cover this thick in years. I mean, this is wobbleboard territory. Absolutely insane. I mean, look how thick this is. It takes you a long time to even get the record out. But inside you get the lyric sheet, which is looking very impressive and sort of gold cursive. There's the band there, 4 guys, Paul, Morris, Eli, and Jeff. Very spooky looking candles there, which is cool. Oh, there we go. Artwork by Manifesta, photographer by Brendan McLeod. So there you go. That's who did the photography of the piece. Very cool. And the record, I just went black. I think there was probably another variant. It was a grey one or something like that. But I got what I could, which was black. So there you go. Spectral Voice Sparagmos. If you like your Death Doom pushing to the funeral side with just supreme heaviness, check this one out. Spectral Voice Sparagmos. The next one I'm particularly excited to have, and for me it kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't get much notification this was even happening. Bit of a band I forgot about, to be brutally honest, and when I saw it was coming, and the very little notice I got, I jumped on it because I knew it was going to be bloody good. And it is. This is Germany's Drowned with their album Procul His. Not too sure what that actually means. Procul His, Proculhis, Procul His. But there you go. This is only their second full length. Sensing a bit of a theme today. Their previous and first album, Idola Species, came out 10 years ago. 10 years ago, but they've been demoing since 1993. This is not a modern band. This is just a band like, you know, like Dead Congregation. They just take ages to get to things. So legitimately, I can actually call these guys an old school death metal band without taking the piss. Of particular note, though, for me was their 2006 demo or EP, Viscera Terra. That was put on CD and LP. I've had the CD since about 2006. Excellent EP. I think that was me and many others' first time hearing the band, and it just became a bit of a coveted release. It's just so good. Here on Procul His, they continue their path of a very straightforward but dark sounding death metal. No frills. There's no frills here. This is just competent death metal. You can feel the death, you can hear the death. It's obviously incredibly metal, but it's not your modern sounding OSDM recreation by any stretch. This is just, I guess, older guys playing what they've always been playing, and the talent and the years behind them is definitely on show here. This is a fantastic album. It's sort of you can't escape it for fans of Incantation, Bolt Thrower, you know, the early stuff, because these guys were there at the same time. Big use of the double bass drums in this, mid-speed sort of, you kind of tepid blasting, plenty of interesting fills. There's a lot of good fills on this, drum fills, and their cover artwork is all very much like this, you know, very says artistic, but just you know, almost like wallpaper or something. All of their albums are very similar. The multiple layers of guitar riffs, which is really, really appealing to me. Deep vocals like Deteriorot. Love the vocal sound on this one. It's just honest to goodness quality death metal played by veterans of the scene. That's what you get with Drowned. Only one real member though remains since 1993, and some of the tracks on here were written back in 2012. But But I get the impression that the soul member is really the brains of Drowned, so it's not like anything is crucially lost. Yeah, it's just it's a sensational album. I absolutely love this thing. As I said, some of the tracks were written as far back as 2012. Loving this thing. It's like a warm blanket of death metal. You know exactly what you're getting, but you're not getting young kids trying to play it. This is like listening to Marty's band Glorious Dead. It's exactly like that. You're listening to people that were there at the time who've just not stopped. They never put out too much, but they've just never stopped. And even if only one of the single main members remains, I'm pretty sure that all of the rest of the band are going to be seasoned musicians as well. I think this is going to feature pretty highly in my end of year list. Released on Black Wax by Spectral Voice. This is just some quality German death metal. There's the inner. This actually reminds me a little bit of the 2006 Viscera Terra, because they've got again, it's sort of just an image, and then they have like a diagram in the center. This could have just been the cover, to be honest. There you go. 3 guys. Very much old school font. Now, I'm used to seeing your Germanic fonts, but this is more like your scriptures or something. Someone's found a massive Bible from like the year 200. That's what that font is. Wow. Very impressive. And yeah, just on black, so nothing too exciting there. But and I wouldn't say like the music is exciting. It's not a game-changing death metal experience here. This is just solid and competent and rewarding sounding death metal. If you just like it old school, but you want it to be actually old school, check out Drowned, Procol His. Next up, we have a far newer band, and a band out of the UK, Death Doom band Slimelord. Awesome artwork on this one with their full length here out on $20 spin. This is Chytridiomycosis. I hope that's how you're saying it. Chytridiomycosis Relinquished, and we'll get into why they have that word Chytridiomycosis, because of the general theme of this band here. But anyway, this is their full length. Finally, after a few EPs and a demo somewhere in there, they finally put out their full length. And they've managed to get onto $20 spin, so awesome for them. First thing I noticed with this one was the front, like the upfront twangy, clean bass guitar sound. So if you like that, you're going to be very happy with the sound here. And of course, it's Death Doom, it's as heavy as balls. It absolutely is a heavy sounding thing. And secondly, it's faster than initially the Doom moniker would suggest. I mean, it's got that heavy bottom end sound, but I would say it's more a suffocating and overwhelming sound than, sluggish Death Doom. And it's thirdly far more progressive than the previous EPs. I think they've really played a bit more on this one. Lots of chops and changes, seemingly random dive bombs. Love my dive bombs. Bridges and things, leading to sporadic blasts and fills under more of those dive bombs. Man, I could just listen to an album about dive bombs. You've listened to the new opening credits, right? Big Glorious Dead dive bomb. There's a descending riff moment in the first track. I'll flip over here. The first track, Beckoning Bell. That takes me back to Blood Incantation's Vitrification of Blood. How it repeats the main riff and gets slower on each cycle. They do that on this, and I love that sound. So good. The guitars have a very strong dissonance to them throughout, often bringing that incantation style riff in a very slow fashion. When the doom comes, obviously it crushes. It is just heavy. I said it was heavy as balls. Deeply gurgly vocals that really emphasize that heaviness, making it all feel very much like Spectral Voice. So you're kind of at home with that band. And of course that ultra slow funeral doom stuff creeps in there as well. Also, I heard hints of bands like Worm. So if you dig, say, the Gloomlord album, not so much the later where he's getting a bit of atmospheric black metal, but like the Gloomlord album, I think that's a great benchmark for what you're going to get here on Slimelord if you're not familiar with the band, but you are familiar with Worm. The vocals also get a little bit raspier along the way. I'm not too sure if that's the backing vocals from the guitarist, because there is credited multiple vocals here. The band's a 5-piece. I find when you have Death Doom bands and you have more members, like Inverloch, it just gets heavier each time. Like, it just seems to happen. And it seems to have been a consistent lineup since the band's inception, so very, very cool. It does appear that one of the guitarists, that's Christian with a K, he has left since recording, but he does appear on this album. So, yeah, there you go. So I mentioned the album title, but the third song, Splayed Mudscape, should start giving an idea of what we're talking about here. It has a great opening to it as well. The sound of like a bubbling marsh giving away to like a groovy riff, which the song just attempts to anchor to through the whole way. Other than that, the thing is just all over the map with where it explores. It makes complete sense when you realize that 3/5 of this band are part of the tech death thrash band Cryptic Shift. As soon as I saw that, it was a bit, now it makes sense, because this is technically minded tech death band members having a go at just Death Doom. So, you know, they can't put down the noodling. They can't put down all of their creativity and just do Autopsy style Death Doom. No. That's not what you get here. You definitely get the more technically minded players having a go at slower material. I love that the band named the guitar solos too. Very Carcass. The track, this track has two complementary ones that fit with the lyrics. So we've got goulash broth, preparation of the ingredients. Then later we have the next solo, goulash broth, execution of the recipe. So, you know, all of their stuff is about spores. As best as I can work it out, all of their music is about spores and things that fester. That's what we're talking about here. We've got side B opener on this one, which I'm going to have to read from the back. Bactromorphia Resurrection's Chamber. Fantastic, both pounding yet fairly dreamy end portion to the song. And a lot of the album has that combination to it. It's dreamy, but it has a heavy pounding to it, with soundscapes, acoustic guitars all thrown into the mix as well. So, yeah. Lengthy tracks here, 6 to 8 minute songs, and the final, which is Heroic Demise, is an instrumental. So I think this is great. This is creatively crushing. How about we go with that? Creatively crushing. Take a look at inside. We've got just a black on this one, but being $20 spin, there was probably 400 variants. One of them was probably called Cryptozoological somethings, because that's what that label does. There's the fold out, which goes vertical, unusual. So you get lyrics here, and on the back, which is upside down, more lyrics. So actually, hang on, there we go. There's the lyrics, and this side actually is a bit more of a descriptor. I think, of the album as a whole, and then some thanks list down the bottom here with a cool new graphics. So, yeah, this is the finally the full length from. It's also nicely artistically flushed inside there. From Slimelord, their first one. And I'm not going to try and say that album again, because it took me a while to rehearse it before, and I've already forgotten how to say it. But anyway, debut full length from UK Slimelord. Check it out if you like it. Crushing and wet. So before I showed a German death metal band that had been at it since 1993, now I'm going to show a classic US death metal band that's been at it since 1990. They are proper old school death metal, releasing a 2-track EP in 1993 on the pretty famous Drowned Productions label, and then their first full length, In Ancient Beliefs, in 2001, which is just a hallmark of death metal. I think anybody into death metal should enjoy In Ancient Beliefs. It's a bit of a genre classic. In 2010 though, before I get to the new one, they had this one came out, The Faithless. Now I only just got this recently, so that's why I'm showing it. It picked up exactly where In Ancient Beliefs started off, or left off, and I mean, briefly on this, it really did just pick up where that album 10 years ago left off. It sounds like a genuine follow-up of just heavy as death metal in the old school approach, and this time on Extreme, which is, you know, Extreme music, as you probably know, followed on from Repulse Records, which followed on from Drowned Productions. So yeah, so this is the one that came out in 2010 and is an excellent album in its own right. I'm only just getting used to it now, as I said. I only just got it myself. But as well as that, they've just released their third full length, and doing the same churning death metal riffs, tonal guttural vocals that they've been famous for and have always employed here on The Rebirth. There you go. Love their logo. Always love their logo. The previous album had some of the original members in it, but at this point, a bit like Drowned, only one original member is left, but that is the original guitarist, vocalist, and chief songwriter Paul Zavaleta, who's been in the band since 1990. It's his baby. And he's got 3 new members for this album, The Rebirth, but it's not like you'd really know. The material is all very consistent to what they did before. But they're all from a band who I've never heard of called Redivider. So it's Paul and 3 guys from Redivider. And they've only released a demo so far, so I need to go check them out. I have no idea how he is familiar with them and chose them to rebirth Deteriorot. Not too sure of the story there, but you can basically tell this is Paul's band. His vocal style has changed a little bit, just a little bit since the previous one and the first album. A little bit deeper, sort of a Nile approach, losing a little bit of that tonal aspect to it. But it is still there. He's just, it's just a bit breathier, I suppose, this time, and less. He really had a sound that no one else was doing. He kind of still is here, but it is getting a little bit more in that breathier, sort of Nile, deep guttural. 8 tracks, plus an intro. It's not a very long album, actually. Just over half an hour, so quite short, to the point death metal. It's exactly what you expect, but it's also refreshing to hear these new tracks in a well-known formula. I will say, though, I reckon in the 10 years prior, he's been listening to some early Findeath a lot more, because I could hear a lot of Privilege of Evil, Amorphous EP on this. The side A closer, The Rebirth, completely sounds like Black Embrace. It really does, as it closes that side, and I mean, that's all good to me. Probably my favourite Amorphous track, Black Embrace. So to hear that style of riffs on The Rebirth, don't know if it's just coincidental, but definitely what I heard. When you look at Metal Archives, at all of the bands that are similar to, there's no mention of Amorphous. It's all your usual ones: Incantation, Immolation, all the bands that were around the same time as Deteriorot. Not at all in that list. There's sounds a bit like Amorphous, but man, I heard it for sure on this one. Maybe it'll change over time as the new album sinks in. The side B opener, Reanimate. Conversely, though, this is when it's very straightforward US sounding death metal. Very simple notes, driving chords on this one. So that one's a bit more, I guess it's a mix of things this time round. Really, there's stuff that sounds kind of Finnish and stuff that sounds incredibly American. The second track on side B, Political Evocation, that's back to that sort of tremolo style riffs, the big sound. I think the band works best when they're doing that sort of Finnish style riff or just fast tremolo, rather than the more sort of straightforward chuggy, I don't know, Malevolent Creation or Mortar Skull or something. I think they're better when they stay in the tremolo. Reanimate is probably not my favorite track on the album, but Political Evocation takes me exactly back where we were. And the final track, Unholy Rebirth, is a re-recording of Unholy Return from the In Ancient Beliefs album, and it's really, really good rendition too. So, it's a solid album. I really dug it. Reanimate, as I said, probably the least good track on here. It's fine. There's no issues with it. It's just kind of stands out a little bit as not being in line with the rest. I do prefer when it's just that nasty tremolo sounding death metal from these guys, from Paul particularly. So, this is out, I said, on Extreme Records. The band did initially do a self-release on Faithless Records, which I imagine is just Paul's own label, as a CDR. They did the same thing with the previous album. There's a CDR initial release, but then very quickly Extreme does a real pressed CD and then an LP, and I think there's a tape as well. So not too sure why they do that sort of stopgap CDR. Maybe it's just made for shows or something like that. But yeah, good stuff. I recommend picking this one up. And the previous album, if you've only ever really heard In Ancient Beliefs and you thought, well, that's all the band did, it's actually not the case. Pick up all their stuff. It's all good. Lyric sheet. There's the band. There's Paul and the new guys. It's all good. So they're not young-looking guys. It's a new-looking band. And just on black. So nothing too exciting there. But good stuff here. Deteriorot definitely having a bit of a rebirth. I hope to see some more stuff from them as well. Next up, we have only the second full length from this Spanish two-piece band I've really been digging. I've shown quite a lot on the channel over the years. Leprophiliac with Gyne, named after, as you can see, Ed Gein. This is a serial killer themed album. Amongst a sea of splits and EPs. Yeah, only 2 full lengths so far. And yeah, as I said, bit of an Ed Gein theme here. Starts with various recordings from what sounds like advertisements for a telly movie. You know, it's got lots of like coming soon and all that kind of thing. But it's all sounds like actors portraying Ed Gein and the history of. But then the first sludgy riff kicks in, and it's just coffins, autopsy, just nasty, simplistic, driving, dirty death metal. I dig all their material, but I particularly do love the full length, the first one, Necrosis. But Gyne is up there too. The band's good at doing EPs. Slime Bath, I think, was the last EP, and there's some splits in there as well. But it's when they do the full lengths, it just seems to come together a bit more. The lyrics on each song here, there's the back. It's like Mr. Ed Gein's house. The lyrics on each song here is telling a bit of a tale, as you'd expect, starting from sort of the thoughts of Ed Gein, going through to the murders, and then going through the incarceration at the end there. So it does follow his journey a bit. If you're not if you're put off by the serial killer themes, well, just don't listen to the lyrics. It's just death metal when we come down to it. Yeah, there's moments, I think. As I said, it's mainly sort of your sluggish autopsy or even the heavier stuff like coffins. But there are moments I hear little just bits of Carcass Symphonies of Sickness. They not in the speed, but just in that sort of Bill Steer creative riff sound. I hear that in here for sure. There's a bridge in the second track, Matriarch of Desolation. That's like, oh, that could have fit on symphonies for sure. But yeah, don't misinterpret that for there being any grind on this album. It's not. This is just mid-paced death metal of the sludgy and nasty sounding flavor. Lots of hooks, lots of head nodding. You definitely, like, this is a driving album. Like, you're going to be tapping the steering wheel the whole time. The vocals are almost discernible, but they are guttural and pretty reverb, so not really. But you can kind of make it out more than you would expect. Like, when I say guttural, most people would think it's all sort of burbly, but no, it's just heavy vocals, and you can nearly work out what he's saying. Opening track on the second side, The Spotless Room, sounds like he's passing something. Eat more fiber there, mate, because that's a howl. That's a bit of a howl. It sounds painful. This is a good album. This is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. When I knew, I didn't listen to this at all. I knew, like, Necrosis I love. The EPs are all great. They announced this thing, and it was CD first for a while. The LP's taken a while. And it finally became available for me to get from local distributor who were importing copies. And I just said, yep, add it to the cart, and I listened to it the first time I put the record on. I knew this wasn't going to be something it wasn't going to be, so I just went in blind on this, and I'm happy. It's good. It is a solid album. With albums like this and Dipygus, I'm really enjoying that looser, crunchier death metal sound at the moment, where there's just speed is absent, and it's just mid-paced, and it's straightforward, and it's nasty. Like, I'm really all about that at the moment. So yeah, Leprophiliac with Gyne. This came out on Rescued from Life Records. Take a look inside. Again, we are just looking at a black LP. It's got some imagery on the center here. We have a sort of skull on one side, and we have a younger Gyne there on the middle. You can watch him spin around. Get some newspaper article cutouts there of all 10 skulls found in the House of Horrors and all kinds of stuff about Gyne. And then we've got the lyrics. You can read along if you wish. And there's the two guys there that make the band. So yeah, really digging what Leprophiliac do. And this is no exception. Leprophiliac with a sophomore full-length Gyne. Check it out. So, speaking of Dipygus, I've already talked about this album over at the Heavy Metallurgy. So all I'm going to say is go definitely check that review out. And the short version is This Shit Rules. But before this, this is the third album. Before this self-titled album from this year, they did this guy, Wet Market, which is an EP. So this is a stopgap EP. The 2021 Sophomore album Bushmeat came out. That was self-titled, is their recent 2024 one. This is the 2023 EP, Wet Market. When I say EP, it's like a mini album. It's 27 minutes long, so you get enough material here. Not really a huge difference. I mean, you know, the Deteriorot was barely 30 minutes. We're calling it an album. This is 27. We call it an EP. It plays at 45 RPM. You guys do you, whatever. It's just all good death metal to me. 7 tracks here of just disgustingly oozy death metal about swamps and the creatures in them and occasional parts of cannibalism. All the good stuff. Mid-paced, as I said, the previous review for Leprophiliac is what I'm all about at the moment. Mid-paced, occasionally fast, slimy sounding death metal. Prominent discordant bass guitar in this. I really like that again. I've traditionally not liked when the bass guitar is up there, but with this mid-paced stuff, when it's very analog sounding, slimy, I think escalating the bass up there a bit kind of helps, and it really works with my ears. I've never really liked, your bass guitar when it's like Death's middle era albums, and it's that farty bass guitar sound. That's always put me off. But what I'm getting on stuff like this Dipygus Wet Market, yeah, I'm all about that. Lots of intros from old movies, documentaries about creatures. So it's not your mortician horror movie samples or things, but just little samples coming from. It sounds like documentaries, so that's kind of cool. Horror movie sounding synth passages, very Necrophagia. I think I called that out on the review for the full length. Similar stuff on here, and the continued spewed vocals from vocalist Clarissa. So she does great work on this thing. I love her sound. So good. Tracks like Living Fossil, and I don't know what that translates to, showcase just how unhinged some of this music can be on here. It chops and changes at the drop of a hat. It's not particularly linear. It's all very mid-paced, but it does change up quite a lot. But tracks like Sandworms, great name, show their occasional, just very occasional foray into gore grind territory with little short blasts and ultra pitch shifted vocals, presumably from Clarissa there too. So to me, this EP is just as essential as the full lengths. I've loved everything they've done. The self-titled is gonna make my top 20 of the year, there's no doubt about it. And this EP, had I actually got this last year, would have definitely got a mention. But it was a little harder for me to get. This came out on Expansion Abyss, good label out of the US, but they do not ship to Australia. So I wasn't sure how I was going to get this. Distros weren't popping this one up anywhere. It's limited to 300. And Crypto the Wizard, who released the full length, had copies of this in. So it was an easy twofer for me to get both at the same time. But if you're in the States, just go to Expansion Abyss's big car tour. They got plenty of copies. Hit it up, get it straight away. Easy order for you guys. So yeah, I love it. I love the artwork. I mean, look at this. It's a mix of like dead heads there, and then looks like stuff out of like Japanese stop motion film. Skulls, and then looks like some like Ray Harryhausen creatures. There's a cannibal over there with a long tongue, and it's all in a forest. There's a pig statue, and then there's maggots. Come on. Good stuff. Loving Dipygus. I've heard people call it Dipygus, but that sounds like a brand of glue. So I'm going with Dipygus, which I think is some kind of disease. Makes more sense. There is some pretty cool collage in here. You've got, looks like band members, but then also you've got like, various incarnations of Kong down here. So these guys are all over the shop. 5 guys in the band, well, 4 guys and 1 lady. There she is, Clarissa. Great stuff. Yeah, loving Dipygus. And again, is it black? I think it's a black day. It's all black. Might have been colours, not too sure. But anyway, Dipygus Wet Market, a nice stopgap EP, every bit as essential as the albums. And lastly today, I want to show off the new one from Californian Death Doom 5-piece, Civerous. I briefly mentioned this in my last update. This is Maze Envy, and this is their latest 2024 release. I said, I showed off their 2021 album Decrepit Flesh Relic a couple of weeks ago, and this thing just came out in March of this year, and it completely rules. I know I saw death metal. I say that death metal albums crush a lot. I've even said it this update. I can't get away from it. I mean, if it crushes, it crushes. The bottom end on this thing is absolutely ridiculous. Perfectly produced, modern sounding death metal. So, not as ugly and nasty as your Dipygus, but if you like it just a little bit more, I'll say clinical, but it's not really. It's just a little bit more processed, I suppose. Civerous has got you covered. And it is just stupidly heavy. These guys know how to chug. They know how to do a lot of things, but they know how to chug. It has that $20 spin clarity you'd expect, but if you don't know Civerous, incredibly heavy brand of death metal, and it is just dominated by those mid-paced chugs. It is just chug, 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 chug. It's so good, but it's not all that. This is not some one-note deathcore nonsense here. This they have slower, doomy moments. As I said, it's a death doom band. They have faster parts with lots of tremolo as well. The track, I think the mid-section of the track, Shrouded in Crystals, which is sort of the first, I mean, got an intro, then this first track here, Shrouded in Crystals. I think that kind of is a statement of what this band sounds like. Tells you everything you need to know. Chug, 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 chug. After some doom and before some immense blasting happens. So, yeah, that's what these guys are about. And you get the riff face when they do that chugging. You absolutely get the riff face. Slower tracks as well, some lush acoustics in here. They're not a one-trick pony, like I said. Breaks it up, and then back to more skull-crushing chugs. These guys know what they're doing in that department for sure. And I said, it is not pointless deathcore chugging. There's no... Look, I can't see any earlugs. Can you see any earlugs? I see no earlugs. It's actual riffs and talent involved in this album. So, yeah, they just make their own brand of headbanging. I love the artwork too. Clearly a maze of envy right there. I'm very envious of this maze. Old mate here has got his torch, and he's going to take a walk through the maze, I suppose. But we've got old spooky guy there in the center. Dead trees. It's just spookiness. Yeah, I actually hadn't noticed that the name of the album, Maze Envy, was scribbled down the corner there. Actually hadn't noticed that, and it almost equals one of the sort of vines in the background. That's actually really cool. It does say Maze Envy. Didn't even notice that myself. So yeah, solid album. I imagine it will feature on a lot of people's lists. Civerous, band I've enjoyed for a while. It's just been difficult to get their stuff. I've got a demo. I've got a live recording tape that they did, a full live set, and I've got a split with another band on a fancy cassette. Comes in a strange case. It's all I've ever managed to get until I finally got the first full length a couple of weeks ago, and now Maze Envy. There's the lyrics. There's the band. As I said, it's 5-piece. These guys absolutely know what they're doing. Worship Disease, Reign Forever. Heavy as balls stuff from here. Civerous, Maze Envy. If you like your death metal and you like it just a little bit modern sounding and you like that heavy bottom end, you're going to like this. So do check it out. And that is the update this time around. A whole bunch of death metal vinyl for you to check out. I did a video last week, which was my top 15 records just ordered by what Discogs thought they were worth. Fair to say the algorithm got hold of that one, kind of blew up. It's going past 15,000 views at the moment. Very surprised. But check it out if you haven't. And not too sure what's next specifically, but I do have a absolute truckload of vintage 80s heavy metal and thrash metal original pressings that I will be showing off in the coming weeks. I'm kind of leaning towards having a Metal May month because it's just an insane... I have to split it up over multiple videos. So whet your appetite there. That's for the old school heads. As for this time, hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, like, subscribe, check out this thing, and I'll see you next time.